another early morning. Every morning, every day of our lives, we have choices to make. You have the choice to stay in bed, to say, forget it, I'm not going to work out today, or forget it, I'm not going to work hard today. You always have a choice every single day of your life.
The most important conversation you will ever have in your fucking life is the one you have with yourself. You wake up with it, you walk around with it, you go to bed with it. Eventually, you're going to act on it, whether you're good or bad. In the dark room, you face yourself. You realize you want to be better. You realize you don't want to be this weak, insecure person in the world who has all these problems that we all have. We all have. This is a race that you run completely alone. We're all, a lot of us are going through a hard time in life. Some people have been bullied. Some people are just stressed out. Some people are insecure. Some people are fat and overweight. And the world puts a lot of this shit in your mind. Are you accountable for what you're doing? Are you accountable? And I mean to the T for what you're saying. I am. And that's where it started. It started with that total accountability of, let's not lie today. Let's tell people the truth about who you are. And when you can get on and tell someone, like I'm doing right now, exactly how fucked up you are, that's the goal in life. To put your life on a billboard, on the busiest road, in the busiest highway in the world, and say, this is how fucked up I used to be. Take it or leave it.
Don't get it twisted. It's not about flipping tires. I'm in Las Vegas right now and it's hot as shit. It's not about any of that. But what it is about is a lot of us give total control to life. We don't have any control of it. We just give all control to life. I do this shit every morning to prepare my mind for what life's gonna throw at me. A healthy body gives you a healthy mind. That's what it's about. So if you go into battle, you want to go into battle with the right mindset, the right gear. In combat, you wear body armor. But what we do wrong is we don't strengthen our minds. You got to strengthen your mind. Take control of that. Well, I'm a big believer in doing something that sucks every single day of your life. I believe it's a key component into strengthening your mind. Every day you're trying to find more of what you're capable of. And that's the big question. What are you capable of? Stop doing the things that you do every day. You run every day, go swim. Do something that sucks.
can't read somebody else's book about some theory on how to do shit. Some guy who sat up in a nice warm office and wrote some book with a nice cup of coffee in the fucking hand. No, I want to see that guy who immersed himself in fucking hell, and he thought about quitting and leaving it, and his wife and his kids, and why am I here? Is it worth it? All this crazy shit, and found out a way to get through it.
This is all about the quitting mind. So what's the quitting mind? So let's say it's day one of a job interview. We all know what that fucking shit feels like. You have your clothes laid out. You got your fucking food ready to go in the morning. You've been preparing for weeks and weeks and weeks. You show up and you bring your best self. You get the fucking job. Merry fucking Christmas. Alright. After a couple months, you start showing up to work a little later. You don't look as good. Your clothes aren't fucking laid out. Your breakfast isn't ready. Your mind's getting softer. We do that shit with everything in life. When New Year's coming up, guess what? Don't have a fucking quitting mind. Repetition every day. Stay hard.
A lot of people say that nothing's impossible. Shit, I even said that nothing's impossible several times in my life. I lied. There's a lot of things that are impossible for you to do. What happens is, when we come across something that's very hard, and we try it once or maybe twice, we then say, we're done, you can't do it anymore. Before you say something's impossible, do it and do it and do it to a level that people think that you might be fucking crazy until you say it's impossible. I had to develop a mindset that was indestructible. I had to armor plate my mind. You have to suffer. You have to make that a tattoo on your fucking brain so when that hard time comes again, you don't forget it. Let's put the shoes on and get grinding. I believe that most human beings are only living at about 40% of their capability. So the mind has a governor, like a car. If you're driving a car and the car has a governor on it, the car may say 130 miles an hour, but the governor's set for 91. Once that governor sets in, you get to 91, that car starts doing this. The car wants to go. The car wants to go, but that fucking factory said, we're not going past 91. We have a factory, a nice governor in our brain, and it's the survival mechanism. It protects us from pain and suffering. The second we feel that shit, our mind says, oh no, this isn't fun. We should back off. We should sit down, find something more comfortable. And there's something about the mind. The mind has the tactical advantage over you at all times. At all times of your life, the mind has a tactical advantage over you. Why is that? It knows what you're afraid of. It knows your insecurities. It knows your deep, dark lies. And it starts to push you away from that shit. It pushes you in a direction that is comfortable. The mind controls everything. So what I realized was that when I was growing up and I was 300 pounds and I got all fat and I got all insecure, I realized that my mind kept taking me in this direction. When things got uncomfortable for me, when I was facing my insecurities, I was facing my fears, my mind said, oh no, we have the tactical advantage. We need to get you, separate you from this feeling. This feeling of your life's all about feelings. You want the happy feeling. We don't want that feeling of this sucks. Why am I here? And you don't have any, so you can't answer those questions, so you lose. I started realizing that if in that moment you can answer those fucked up questions and you are now in charge of your brain versus your brain ruling you, that's where all that stuff comes from. So the 40% rule is all of that. You get to 40%, your brain says, done. 40%. When you quit, your mind says we're done. So it doesn't expand. There's no expansion when you quit. When you say, fuck you, this sucks, I'm drowning, I'm miserable, I'm suffering, I'm broken, but I'm not going anywhere. What happens to your mind is it does this. It says, fuck, he's not leaving. So we gotta expand. We gotta grow. We gotta figure this fucking thing out. So then these compartments in your brain start to they have to work. They have to work. And then you start to engage parts of your mind that you never engaged before. But you can't engage it by sitting back in these nice chairs, drinking this nice water, talking to you, talking about what I want to do. That's where the 40% thing comes in. It comes in when you're in suffer mode and you say, I'm not going to quit. You get to 40%, your brain says, we're done. Let's roll, man. This is starting to get painful. This is uncomfortable. So you sit down. You have to figure out ways, and everybody's different. That's how the book kind of talks about. Like we all have these things about, 5 steps to this and 4 steps to this. It's a lot more than that. That's all bullshit. It's a practice that you have. It's a habit. So if you know that at 40% I'm feeling pain. At 40% I'm feeling pain. That's where the 40% will kicks in. Now it starts. Okay, I'm feeling pain. My mind's saying all this shit to me. It's saying get out of here, run, flee. The fight or flight kicks in. Okay, we're done. We're not good enough. It starts telling you all these things. You start to believe it because the mind controls all. This is the time where you have to gain control back of your mind. It's okay. Let me see if I can go 45%. And once you start giving yourself more and more hope and start realizing, okay, the mind starts to be, okay, what are you doing? We're supposed to be going right and you're going left. You start then controlling your mind. Start finding more in yourself. And it goes from 40% to a lot further than that. And that's the start of it though. Get to the spot where your mind is saying stop. Wherever that is, you gotta get there first. And then that's when that shit starts to work. You gotta control yourself in that moment. A lot of us out here are pushing real hard, but we're afraid to go to that dark side. In your mind, when you push real hard, you have this door in your mind. And a lot of us don't want to open that door. Once you open that door, you're in a tunnel. It's a dark ass tunnel. And you can't see shit. There's one thing about being in dark places. If you have the courage to stay in there long enough, your eyes will start to adjust to the darkness. Your body and mind will always adjust to more suffering, to more pain. If you want to push harder, know this. Your mind quits way before your body does. So you have to be willing to go way into that darkness and find more of yourself. When you really sit back at your life and you in that dark room and you're looking at where you started from and you tell yourself, dog, man, my mom is this way, my stepdad got murdered, my dad beat the shit out of me. I can't read and write to save my fucking soul. I've lied about it to everybody. I've cheated on all these tests. My God, man. And then you put a goal in your mind. How are you gonna feel, man, when you accomplish this goal coming from that shit? Coming from the fucking hell you came from. A lot of people start from a good starting point. They have a good foundation. What if you can surpass all of these motherfuckers? What if everybody who was fucking way up here started up here, and you started with no legs. You had to grow fucking legs to even start walking, and then crawling, and then running, and then you start passing people and all this given to them. I had to use all this negative shit that was making me weak and horrible as a person. I had to use this as the power that now fueled me. I had to flip it on its head and say, hold up, this might be exactly what I need. The darkness is exactly what I need. It's how you look at your situation. And I was looking at it all fucked up.
You are a guy that, for a lot of people, you sort of embody the idea of hardening your mind and figuring out a way to do things that most people think are impossible. How'd you become that guy?
You know what? I grew up not that guy. A lot of people put a title on me. They see me now. They see me now as the guy that with his shirt off, who can do 4,030 pull-ups in 17 hours, who can run 205 miles in 39 hours, who can do all this crazy shit. But what they don't understand is they don't understand the journey that it took me to get to this point. I was that guy who ran away from absolutely everything that I got in front of me. The real me was like this very scared, insecure, stuttering, got beat up by his dad, all this kind of stuff. And then I built this fake person that walked around like my shit didn't stink. Going to school rarely happened. So when I went to school, I was all kind of, my learning disability, I had social anxiety. I was just a jacked up kid from living in this tortured home. In my mind, I was always afraid. My whole life I was afraid, but I had this fucking voice, this conscience that would always be battling me, saying, hey, you gotta get up and do something. I didn't want to do shit. And that voice that I talked about, it kept talking louder and louder and louder, but I was doing nothing about it. I decided to make moves. And I wanted to get in the military, I wanted to join the Air Force, and the guy gave me an ASVAB test. It's like a watered down SAT. And I couldn't copy on it because the guy beside me had a test A, I had test B. The guy on my right had test C. So I looked to copy on this test and I couldn't copy on it, so I got like a 20. And I wanted to be an Air Force pararescueman. It's guys that jump out of airplanes and save down pilots. It's a special operator in the Air Force. And my score was so horribly low that I had to retake it again. And he said, hey, I got like an 18 the second time, even worse. I need to get a 50 out of a 99. My mom afforded enough money for me to go to see a tutor 1 hour a week. So for 4 hours a month, and I had 6 months to study for my last test. And I studied my ass off and passed it. And I got in the Air Force and realized there was more things in front of me. I was afraid of the water, terrified of the water. And so here I am in this Air Force program, starting to get a little more confidence, but this water was kicking my ass. 6 weeks in the program, the doctor gave me a blood test. I realized I have sickle cell. So they put me out training for a week, and when you go from being very uncomfortable in that water situation, and then now you're comfortable and I'm sitting back watching the guys drown. I'm not part of the activities anymore for this week. I didn't want to get back in that damn water again. So the fear overcame me, and all my insecurities from my dad, from this small town, from everything started coming back. I wanted to quit so badly, but I quit everything in my life. I copied through school. I wanted to prove people wrong. And even though no one knew how fucked up I was, kind of created this other person who was tough, I lived with this shit all the time. And I broke. I couldn't imagine going back through that again. At the age of 19, at the age of 22, I went and did a job called TAC P, where you control fast movers behind enemy lines. Cool job, but there's no water. I was afraid of the water, so I avoided it. And I gained 125 pounds in that time frame. I went from 175 to almost 300. And I started finding things that was comfortable. And the more things I found comfortable, the more uncomfortable my mind was. Because that voice I was telling you about, it always was there. I was just trying to avoid that conscience. I wanted to be left alone from that conscience, and it wouldn't leave me alone. So I got out of the Air Force, and I started working for a job called Ecolab, where you spray for cockroaches at 24. And what changed, I came home and watched this Discovery Channel show, Class 224. I came home from Steak and Shake. I sprayed it down last, get a big old large 42-ounce shake, walk across the street and get a box of mini donuts from 7-Eleven, and I would drive home for 45 minutes. This big old fat guy who, yeah, I worked out, but I was fat. I didn't run, didn't PT, I just hit the gym. So driving home, turn the TV on, and what comes on, the Discovery Channel show, and that's where everything changed for me. watching these guys going through Hell Week, class 224, and these guys are ringing the bell, quitting, dropping their helmet down, rolling out. A lot of guys just leaving. And it made me reflect on my fears, my insecurities. And I saw real men, what I thought were real men who were staying, who were overcoming adversity, who were overcoming all these different things that I had blamed so many fucking people in my life, my dad, my mom for not being there. When I was 14 years old, my mom was gonna get remarried to this great guy. He got murdered. And then I moved back to that small town in Brazil, and everybody was to blame. My learning disability, my skin color, you know, me being everything. And so I sat there for a while, and I was like, man, I got it. No one's gonna fucking come to help me. No one's gonna fucking come to help me. It's fucking me against me, period. I had to man up. And I said, the first thing I gotta start doing is facing every fucking fear I have. I had two options. To either be that 300-pound guy who sprayed for cockroaches and made $1,000 a month, or I can totally just sack it up and fail and fail and fail until I succeed. So I started calling recruiters up. I said, I'm gonna go be a fucking Navy SEAL. And every recruiter, so there's a weight and height, so the weight and height limit to get in the military. And I was 6'1" and 297. So I called all these recruiters up, and all of them said, hey, how tall are you, blah, 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 blah. They got into conversation to see if I was even qualified. And by the time I got to my weight, phone would hang up pretty much, like, hey, you know what, call somebody else, you know, try to get in the reserves. So I tried to get in the reserves. And I called this guy named Steven Salgio, recruiter, up. And he said, hey, come on in. He saw me, put me through the weight standard, all this other stuff. And to get into the class I had to get into, I had to lose 106 pounds in less than 3 months. So I was like, fuck that, I can't do that. I grabbed my chocolate milkshake and went back to Ecolab. I'm going back to work, man. This is my life. This is it. And I said, this ain't gonna be it for me. In that restaurant, I quit my job, left my canister in that restaurant, my spray canister, got back in my Ecolab truck, and I went home. And I started working out like somebody. I became the most obsessed person on the planet Earth. I had to invent a guy that didn't exist. I had to invent a guy that can take any pain, any suffering, any kind of judgment, be called nigger, be called whatever the fuck in the world, and be able to stand in the fucking room and say, go fuck yourself. I had to build this callous mind, and I built it through suffering. I built it through downright fucking just crushing myself. If it was raining outside at 3 o'clock in the fucking morning, if it was snowing, the first instinct is don't go out there and do shit. My instinct was, we gotta fucking go out there. Anything that was fucking horrible in my life that I would normally say no, I had to go do it. The fucking mind is what you created. And I started opening different doors that I didn't think were even there, that I didn't think even existed. And the more doors I opened up, the more I started realizing that my potential is damn near endless. I started being able to take negative shit and be happy. And this whole, I say what if a lot, it sounds corny and it sounds weak, but it's true. One of the recruiters said there's not many black Navy SEALs. Matter of fact, I was the 36th African-American SEAL in history. What story would it be if my fucking fat, dumb, lying to be friends with people, insecure ass can overcome this shit? And that what if mentality, like that dreamer mentality, just would always fuel me. It would just fuel me, man. What if I can be a SEAL, man? What if I can go from running a quarter of a fucking mile? Now I run 205 miles. What if I can go? Just what if I can go? And what if, how would that feel? I wanted to just go the distance. And that going the distance pushed me to a point of where now I go way past. In San Diego one day, where you run around a 1 mile track for 24 hours. How many miles you can get? I did the math, 14-some-minute mile, fuck it, I can do that. Dumb shit thinking, I'll tell you that right now, it was rough. So, show up at the start line of this race. It was the AUA National Championships. It's like the best ultra runners compete against each other to see how many miles you can get in 24 hours. I start running and I get to about mile 40, mile 50, and I'm feeling pretty good. I get to mile 70 and it was the worst pain in my life. I sat down in this blue lawn chair at mile 70 and the Ritz crackers after mile 20 became Ritz cracker balls. I wasn't hydrating correctly. I didn't know what to do. I was drinking Mileplex for my nutrition because I couldn't eat these Ritz crackers. Had very minimal water, if any at all. And I was just dying. So I sat down in this blue lawn chair and I looked at my ex-wife now and I was like, I am fucked. And I started seeing like 3 of them. And once my body stopped, my mind just went off. And I had to go to the bathroom. And the bathroom was like 20 feet away from me, if that. And I couldn't. And so I sat there and peed blood down my leg and started cramping up my back, and with 30 miles to go. I started reaching the cookie jars, man. I started pulling off all kind of stuff. I reached in my mind, and a lot of us, when we have bad times in life, even the hardest person in the world, we forget how badass we are during that hard time. I have a thing where I take a couple seconds to reflect on, hang on, man, you've been through this, you've been through that, you overcame this, overcame that. I don't ever close my mind to the fact that this can be done. And I knew I had to get up, I needed nutrition, I needed hydration, I needed to stop being dizzy. So that's the first thing I did. I didn't panic on I had 30 more miles to go to get 100. I thought about the process. Slowly but surely I was able to stand up, and I was literally hobbling around this track, just walking. My ex-wife looked at me and she's like, man, we agreed I'm not gonna make the time. I was going way too slow. And at that time, at mile 81, something clicked that I'll never probably be able to do again, when my mind, body, spirit, soul, everything just connected. And my mind knew I wasn't fucking around anymore. It knew I wasn't gonna quit. It knew that guy was dead and buried and gone. And I was gonna die out here on this fucking 1 mile for whatever reason why, I was gonna get through this motherfucker. I didn't give a damn. There was no fucking crowds. There was no trophy at the end. I wasn't even in a race in my mind. It was nothing. And it was me against me. I used all these different dark places to start bringing out light and just fucking going deeper and deeper. And I did 101 miles in 18 hours and 56 minutes. Sat back down in that blue chair that I got from Walmart. And that's when the body realized I was done. That's when I took a humongous shit on myself. Literally like a fucking log up my fucking back. Pissed so much blood down. And my wife she was a nurse. And she was freaked out. And she was terrified. I need to get to the doctor. So I said, just take me home. So we lived in the second story or the second deck of this apartment complex in San Diego. I get out of the car and I could stand up but with my arms around her neck. So I was just leaning down because I was gonna pass out. She helped me manage to get into the tub. It was the worst pain I could ever be in my life. I'm not sadistic, I'm not crazy. People may think that. They may want to put a title on me after hearing me because it makes them feel better. No, I'm a guy that came from nothing. Anybody's capable of doing shit like this. Anybody. And I sat in that tub. She put the water on me. She called my mom up. My mom was dating a doctor at the time. The doctor said, you need to get him to a hospital now. So she said, I'm taking him to the doctor. I said, no, let me sit here and enjoy this pain. She said, what are you talking about? I said, I need to go to the doctor. I realized that. But I never thought it was humanly possible to do what I did. I went 70 miles. And at 70 miles, I was dead. I was at 100%. what I thought was 100%. And all that pain and suffering and thing was going through my fucking body as I sat in that tub and the waters hit me. It was the most amazing feeling of accomplishment, and I want to be numb. I didn't want people to give me drugs and to numb this fucking pain. I did this. And as crazy as it sounds, it was the most amazing moment of my entire life. To come from this kid who was mentally torturing himself and was tortured, it's all to this guy now.
People need to hear this story. This is an exciting story for people, because there's a lot of people out there that feel trapped and they feel stuck and they feel like they can't do anything and this is who they are. And you're a guy who felt that exact same way, but figured out how to not be that person and be a person that you would admire.
So this young man, he's working with his counselor, trying to find his why. He wants my opinion. Well, here it is. Trying to find your why is another way of procrastinating, taking fucking action. So, the question does not end with why. It starts with why. Why the fuck don't you want to be in better shape? Why the fuck don't you want to be a better fucking student? Why don't you want to be more successful? So this is something I can say, and your counselor can't because he might get fired. Maybe you can't find your why because you're lazy. Maybe you can't find your why because you have zero fucking ambition. Regardless, you need to go out here and find it. There's a distinct difference between a champion and someone who's just good. Let's use boxing for instance. It's a 12-round championship bout. At the 11th round, they both go to the corners. Someone that's good sits there and thinks to himself, I fucking have given everything I have. Hopefully, I can get through the 12th round. A champion, he sits in that corner while all of his people are talking to him. He ain't hear shit. All he's thinking about is, I have to find what I haven't given. It's that mentality that truly separates the champions from the motherfuckers who are just good. Stay hard. When I was just going through Navy SEAL training, there's one thing I told myself. I wanted to quit every single day. But many dreams die while suffering. And many of us out here have suffered. And when you're suffering, I'm not talking about just physically, I'm talking about emotionally, spiritually. It could be a relationship. When you're suffering, you give up on the very things that you wanted the most. When I was going through pararescue, I wanted to be a pararescueman so bad, but that water haunted me. So when the suffering got too much, my dream died. And pretty much I almost died with it. If I didn't find Navy SEALs and getting past that hump and overcoming my demons and facing my demons every day, I would have never been up here today. You can't outrun your demons. They'll always know where you're hiding. Trust me at that. And I'm gonna end with this. Don't stop when you're tired, stop when you're done. How do I do it? How am I able to do what I do on a daily basis?
Goggins is described as one of the toughest men on the planet.
You know, how do I fight the demons? Because they hear me speak and I'm very raw and real.
He's the only man in history to complete elite training as a Navy SEAL, Army Ranger, and Air Force Tactical Air Controller.
How do you fight my insecurities? I all these things.
He's also an ultra-marathon runner with more than 60 races under his belt.
They're there every day. They're there every day. Like you said, I'm in search for a feeling. I'm not in search for a trophy. I'm not in search for love. I'm not in search for more followers on Instagram or social media. When I started this journey years ago, and I realized that I'm going to be somebody, and I'm searching for a feeling of true victory for myself, and only myself. The second I shut out the whole world and realized that one thing, that I am in this world alone. I'm fighting this race by myself. No one knows the real truth about me, how hard I really go. I don't care if anybody knows. I don't want anybody to know. I'm an introvert. I live an introverted life, and I love that about me. That right there is my fuel. Is I know that there's really no one out there grinding like me. I believe in a higher power. Don't know the name, don't know where it's coming from, don't know anything like that. But I believe that this power, and visualize with me real quick. Let's say it's a man up there or a woman, whatever, and they have a chart. And when you're born, they say David Goggins, born February 17th, 1975 at 6 a.m. They write the chart down because they can see everything. They know exactly what you're fucking supposed to be. They know what you're supposed to be. You die, you go to so-called heaven. You arrive at heaven, I'm 300 pounds. I retired as an Ecolab guy, which is okay, it's just a job, whatever. I go up there and God looks at me and he shows me my chart. And my chart on there says you were supposed to be a Navy SEAL. You're supposed to weigh 185 pounds. You're supposed to be one of the smartest people on the planet, this, all this. You see this. And now you're in heaven, you made it to heaven, but you're like, God, Doug, I was supposed to live that life. I was supposed to live that life. And then you find out that the reason why, because we all think that if we pray on it, if we do this, if we do that, whatever, we don't work, we just, whatever, it's gonna magically happen for us. No. I believe that when I'm all said and done with, my whole job is to outwork the chart. Whatever the fucking chart says about me, the all-knowing power up there, I want to get up there and say, him look at me and say, I know everything. I didn't fucking see this. I didn't fucking see this. I want to feel that. I want to get to the other end of this fucking world, and however I'm being judged, whoever's judging me, to look at me and say, I did not fucking know. I had you at 185, I had you at this, but all this other shit, I was riding as you were living it. I want to find more. All I can. And in that fucking sack of shit, you have to dive in that to find more. Because if you're not willing to go in there and face yourself, I can find anything. You can live right here on surface, man, right here on surface. So if there is an ending to this world and there is somewhere to go and there's a judgment, you're gonna get there and you might see a chart. And that chart may tell you who the fuck you should have been. And now you get the rest of your life to think about that. Now I could have lived a much better life if I just would have just suffered a little bit more. If I just would have went in that shit and realized I had so much more. But fear and the 40% and living here, being afraid, stop me. I'm a big guy in visualizing. I'm a big guy in making a world. It may not exist. To me, it does. To me, it does. I'm overpowering myself every day. I can't believe I'm here. I can't believe I'm getting an award like this. That kid who was in the fetal position the majority of his life. And so much the fact that my body, my hip flexors are tight to this day, that even though I was standing erect, my mind was in the fetal position. And when I looked out amongst all those people, it was a sense of pride that I can't even explain. It's the moments of 3 hell weeks. It's the moments of in that room by myself studying for hours and hours and hours, trying to catch up with all the kids who are above me. It's just those moments, like the real raw moments of life, that was like boom, hit me, and we're gone. I was looking for in my life. I found it. It wasn't money, it wasn't fame, it wasn't awards. It was that feeling I have right now. The feeling I'm about to break down. It's like I worked myself so hard that I turned a person this fucked up into this motherfucker right here. Not off of reading a fucking book off a theorist. Off of going to work on myself and saying, I don't know how to do this, but I know that to get over there to that fucking side, I gotta grind myself into a fucking fine powder. And I did it. I did it off of sure will. And very few people will know how that feels.
First off, I'm very humbled to be up here talking to you all today. For a living, I'm a motivational speaker, and I speak to thousands of professional athletes, from the biggest names to the smallest names. And when I saw Doc walk in here with the Congressional Medal of Honor, this is the first time in my life I got nervous to speak in front of a crowd. That's how much I respect this man up here. I was reading about this man back in the day, so I'd like to thank the VFW very much for giving me this award. It means more to me than anything I've ever received in my entire life. I'd like to thank my grandfather, Sergeant Jack Gardner, who is now deceased. This would be the happiest day of his entire life. I'd like to thank my mom up here, who who never picked me up, when I fell. She taught me how to
get up when I was knocked down. I was not always this strong guy you see. I went through a lot of hard times in my life to get here today. All I wanted to be was an uncommon man. I'm trying to build people up. I'm trying to armor their mind. I'm trying to get them the belief. Because this world we live in is tough. It will beat you down. The world and the life that we live in is the ultimate competitor. It will find your weakness and it will just hammer you. I can help you build belief, build confidence to the point where nothing can hurt you because you know exactly who you are. You have no fucking idea how great you really are. Because you are using such minimal of what you have. You don't just wake up and just rocky the shit. You gotta wake up and think about there's a process to getting better. And that process is never finished.
This isn't for the masses. This is for those who want to leave normal behind. Those who are in search of a new realm. It's a lonely journey. You're isolated. Those who used to keep pace with you will fall off. They'll see where their world ends and yours begins. Your ability to suffer, endure, outwork must be greater. You must be willing to extend yourself to the limit with no guarantee of success. Every day, you must ask yourself, did I do enough? Who are you on those days you don't want to do things? It's easy to conquer when it's good weather. You got good sleep. Work's going good. Your family's good. You feel great. Your body's not injured. Those are the easy days to conquer. But who are you on those fucking days when all hell's broke loose? Your body's fucked up. You're sore. You're depressed. You're miserable. You're not your favorite person at school. You might be getting bullied. You might be falling behind in life. Who are you on those days when shit's all fucked up? That's the great divide. Those people who get up on those days when everything's fucked up and still grind, that's the separator right there. Stay hard.